My name is Janet Michel. I'm actually a Zimbabwean and I'm based here in Switzerland, in Bern. I am an impact evaluation expert, epidemiologist, and global health consultant. So I've worked in health systems in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Lesotho, Zambia, and South Africa. And recently, I worked here in Switzerland, evaluating the COVID-19 digital tools, and I've also just published an impact evaluation framework, which will now be taught at the Swiss Schools of Public Health. I'm also the Executive Director for Global Health Mentorships, which is an online platform that was created in 2015 with the goal of making global health mentorship equitable, seeing that it's very difficult for students and young professionals in global health from the global south to come to Geneva for an internship. They cannot afford that. And so this is an online platform. For me, thanks to Lars and Nina, it's an honor to join EHFF simply because I feel that it's a space for dreamers. And for me, it's an honor to be surrounded by such great minds, such people who are not just disgruntled by the status quo, but are determined to put their skin in the game, come together, and do something positively to influence the future. Because I think the selfish-centered thinking that we are seeing in our world that has brought us here cannot take us far. And this selfishness, we can see that in the workplaces, toxic workplaces, toxic homes, toxic environments, making us all sick. So I feel the European Health Futures Forum is really cognizant of this need to change this and also of the connectedness and interdependence of our ecosystems. So systems thinking, solidarity, kindness, leadership, and well-being are some of the values in EHFF, and I personally subscribe to these. I feel like there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt which says the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And I really think that EHFF is the space where people are allowed to dream in a safe space, simply because to live without hope is to cease to live. That's another quotation I thought really resonates with what's going on. So for me, the dream is more a personal story. Growing up in Zimbabwe, I know period poverty firsthand, and this has led me to create a prototype pad, which is now registered with the Commons for access for women anywhere in the world to produce their own pads. But also, as a woman who hit the 45-year mark, I realized that there's no information about menopause out there. And I also, as an epidemiologist, I try to research and realize that there's very little evidence on the topic, simply because it's an underfunded topic and it's not a global health priority. And as a researcher, I also tried to apply for funding and I was denied. So my dream is really to see women in the driving seat when it comes to women's health issues. So I hope together in this EHFF, we can tackle women's health issues collectively with the urgency it deserves in an accountable and equitable manner, but also deliberate on women's health issues and co-create solutions. And I feel like the most important thing is to really generate and find new ways of engaging with local governments, but also engaging with men. Because when we look at sexual reproductive health, for some time, men were kind of alienated, and I think it hasn't really produced results. But really novel ways of engaging other genders and other communities in a respectful manner. And seeing the geopolitical shifts, I feel it's also an opportunity for us to find novel ways of generating the research funds needed to carry out relevant research for women and change the narrative. Because when you look at sexual reproductive health, the focus is on menarche and until the woman reaches menopause. So it's sexual reproductive health, kind of reducing a woman to procreation. What happens after menopause is not really taken into account in our sexual reproductive health curriculum right now. So we need sexual, reproductive, and menopausal health. And I feel that women globally experience menarche and menopause. So this is something that should actually unite us, because we need that solidarity and agency to change anything. I actually have the come up with this call to action, because if we look at the human resources for health, more than 50% of the human resources for health are women, and more than half of these are actually age 45 and above. And we have a projected shortage of 11 million. And our current gynecologist and GP, they never learned about menopause. So if we do not care for these carers, considering that in other contexts, it's also women who care for their own populations. So they might not be considered professional human resources for health, but they are carers. So if we do not care for these, who will care for us? So that's why I started this petition for a comprehensive menopausal education. I will share that as well, Lars, as you've said. The second dream, you tell me when my time is up, is really an online, internationally recognized, accredited nurse, midwifery, and medical education in the face of the glaring human resources for health challenge. So in global health mentorships, we've been an online platform since 2015. So we know how to make it work. And simply because the brain drain that's happening in the global south is not only affecting the training capacity of those institutions, but it's also indirectly affecting the patient outcomes in the global north. Because when people migrate and start working in these contexts, that also affects the patient care and outcomes. Hence this call for solidarity and systems thinking. Because when we talk about digital health, it's often looked at a tool to enable the patient to access knowledge, to access diagnosis, to access treatment, to access follow-up. But rarely is it looked as a tool to really enable the healthcare worker to access knowledge, mentorship, and also skills. And what we are proposing is to utilize this as a tool to really counteract the brain drain. We started this petition for online education in 2022 when the war in Ukraine started, seeing that we lost 80,000 potential human resources for health. So these students went back to their countries, and when they were not absorbed back into the system, and that was a loss to global health. And that's why we're saying we need to really have institutions collaborate, global south, global north, and provide online nurse and midwifery training. Thank you.